In a forgotten part of the town where suffering lived like a neighbor, there was a boy named Kamsi. He was young, thin, and worn by hardship. He was not just poor, he was an orphan. Both his parents had passed away years ago, leaving him and his blind little sister Eva alone in a world that showed no mercy. Kamsi became everything to Eva. He was her brother, her father, her mother, her eyes, her protector, and her hope. Every morning before the sun fully rose, Kamsi pushed his father's old motorcycle to life. The engine coughed like a tired man, but it was all the father left for them to feed from. From dawn till night, he carried passengers, fetched water for people who often refused to pay, sold small items in traffic, and begged for work just to make sure his sister would eat. Many nights, he returned home with nothing but dust on his clothes and aches in his heart. His sister, Eva, would touch his face gently and ask, "Brother, did you eat today?" And Kamsi would smile and lie, "Yes, I ate, I am fine." But deeply down, hunger burned quietly inside him. One evening, as darkness slowly covered the road, Kamsi picked a passenger that changed his life forever. She was breathtaking. Her skin was fair and glowing, her curves soft and goddess-like, and her beauty was the kind that made people stop walking. She entered his bike gently, spoke with a calm voice, and gave her direction. Her name, she said, was Olaedo. From that day, Olaedo began to call him often. Every evening, every night, always to the same place, a campus close to the cemetery. At first, Kamsi did not question it. After all, people went there for lectures, for research, and to observe quiet time. But something felt strange. Each time he dropped her and turned back, his heart would suddenly race. Sometimes, he would see a man standing where she had just been. Other times, he would see an old woman staring silently. And sometimes, there would be nothing at all. Just cold air and empty space. No footsteps, no shadows, and no explanation. Fear began to follow him like a shadow. Goosebumps rose on his skin each time he carried her. Many times he told himself, "Tomorrow, I will stop carrying this woman." But Olaedo was kind. She spoke gently. She paid well. She smiled with a calmness that made him forget his fear. And Kamsi needed the money. His blind sister was waiting at home. So he continued driving Ola, until the day envy almost destroyed his efforts. One of the Okada riders, driven by jealousy and greed, decided to set Kamsi up. Quietly, he slipped his wallet into Kamsi's back pocket. Then he raised his voice and shouted, "My wallet! Kamsi has stolen my wallet!" Chaos erupted. Other riders rushed toward Kamsi. Nobody listened to him. Nobody allowed him to speak. They dragged him down, slapped him, and beat him before even checking his pocket. Blood touched his lips. Dust filled his eyes. They called him a thief. They called him a criminal, all because he was poor and powerless. Then suddenly, a calm voice broke through the noise. It was Olaedo. Kamsi did not steal anything. She walked toward them slowly, holding the missing wallet in her hand. The shouting stopped. Silence fell like heavy rain. The man who framed Kamsi froze. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "I am sure I put my wallet in his pocket." Olaedo looked at him quietly, smiled, frowned, and said, "You want to frame him, but I stopped it." But her eyes held something deeper, something ancient, something that did not belong to this world. Kamsi felt cold from his spine to his bones. That was the moment he understood that Olaedo was not just a woman, and his journey had crossed into a world where the living and the unseen walk side by side. And the orphan boy, who only wanted to feed his blind sister, had unknowingly become part of a story far bigger than his suffering. Olaedo stretched out her hand and dropped the wallet into the man's palm. Her voice was calm, but it carried an authority that froze everyone on the spot. "Take your wallet and stay away from this poor orphan," she said. "If you eliminate him, what will be the fate of his blind sister waiting at home?" Kamsi felt his heart stop. He had never told her about his sister. He had never told her he was an orphan. He had never told her anything about his life. The crowd went silent. Olaedo's eyes moved slowly from one Okada rider to another. "None of you should touch a strand of hair on his head," she said. "Anyone who tries to harm Kamsi will be gone by dawn." This is not a threat, it is a warning. Fear swept through them like a cold wind. No one spoke, no one challenged her. The man who framed Kamsi quietly sneak away, shame and fear written all over his face. Kamsi stood there shaking. His mind was spinning. How did she know? Who was she? That night, as he rode home on his bike, his heart was heavy with fear. The road was quiet, and the streetlights flickered weakly. Then he saw her, Olaedo, standing at the junction. Kamsi's breath caught in his throat. Fear seized him. He quickly changed direction and took another road, trying to avoid her. His heart was pounding like a drum. But at the next junction, she was there again, standing calmly, just as before. Kamsi stopped. His hands were trembling on the handlebars. He felt trapped between the living world and something beyond it. Olaedo smiled gently. "Why are you scared, my dearest friend?" she asked. "Do not be afraid. I am your guardian." The word guardian sent cold through his spine. "Drop me off quickly," she continued. "Then go home immediately and attend to your sister. She has been sick and shivering all day, but before you get home, she will be fine again." Kamsi's voice shook. "Please, who are you?" Olaedo's smile faded slightly. "No more questions. Hurry home before it is too late." Her voice was firm, final, and commanding. Kamsi obeyed without understanding. He dropped her off and sped home like a man being chased. His heart hammered against his chest. His thoughts were scattered, mixed with fear, confusion, and disbelief. When he got home, his blind sister was sitting quietly. She smiled when she heard his footsteps. "Brother, you are back," she said. Kamsi rushed to her. "Were you sick today?" he asked urgently. "Yes," she replied. "I was very weak. I was shivering. I thought I would faint." Kamsi's breath stopped. "But a lady passed by," she continued. "She stopped and asked about me. She gave me some herbs and told me to drink them. After some time, I felt better." Kamsi's blood ran cold. "A lady?" he asked slowly. "What did she look like?" His sister replied, "I guess she was very beautiful because her voice was soft. She called me her little sister." Kamsi staggered backward. He shouted in fear, "Why would you take something from a stranger? Do you want to pass away like Kur parents did?" His sister paused and replied calmly, "Brother, would you prefer I passed instead of accepting help?" Kamsi had no answer. That night, sleep refused to come. The wind outside felt different. The silence felt alive. Kamsi lay awake, listening to every sound, knowing that something beyond human understanding had entered their life. Olaedo was no longer just a passenger. She was watching, she was guarding, and she was walking between worlds for their sake. At first, fear ruled Kamsi's heart, but after that terrifying night, something changed. Fear slowly turned into courage. The more he saw Olaedo, the more he became used to her presence. The mystery no longer chased him away. Instead, it pulled him closer. He stopped seeing her as danger and began to see her as destiny. One evening, as he was riding, he met Olaedo standing by the roadside as usual. She looked calm, glowing under the fading light. "Kamsi," she said softly, "tomorrow, when it rains, collect clean rainwater. Make sure the rain does not touch zinc or iron. Let it fall directly into a clear white bowl. Place the bowl outside the compound from night until morning. Then let your sister wash her face with it." Kamsi laughed loudly, not out of mockery, but out of exhaustion. "Olaedo, I am tired," he said. "I have tried everything for my sister's blindness. I am tired of hoping." Olaedo looked at him with pity and kindness and replied, "Do as I say, then you will understand." 2 days later, after his sister washed her face with the water, a miracle happened. She screamed with joy, "Brother, I can see! I can see you!" Kamsi dropped to the ground in shock. Neighbors rushed in, completely stunned. A blind girl, seeing again without going to the hospital, without doctors, without medicine. People whispered in disbelief. With time, they wondered why such a goddess-like woman would keep visiting poor orphans like Kamsi and his sister. That night, before Kamsi could return home, he found Olaedo sitting with his sister in front of their compound. Olaedo turned to him and said, "Take me home." But before mounting the bike, she brought out a small box and said, "Inside this box are my important documents. Let your sister keep it safe. I will come for it." Then she faced Kamsi and said, "Always look before you leap. Soon you will make it big, but be careful of the woman you call your own. One wrong choice can return you to nothing." Kamsi laughed again and said, "Olaedo, I have not even made money to take care of myself and my sister. How can I think of another woman?" Olaedo smiled gently and replied, Keep my words, help is on the way." As they rode, Kamsi felt the same goosebumps he felt the first time he carried her. His body became cold. Suddenly, Olaedo said, "Stop here." It was the burial ground. For the first time, Kamsi felt fear like never before. His hands shook on the handlebars as memories of all the strange things returned. Olaedo stepped down and disappeared instantly. Kamsi screamed. Then she reappeared, sitting calmly on the bike, and said, "You see, I did not want to scare you." His whole body was shaking. When he finally dropped her and looked back to say goodnight, Olaedo was gone. In her place stood an elderly woman with a walking stick, smiling gently at him. Kamsi did not wait. He rode home at full speed, his heart pounding like thunder. On reaching home, he collapsed. His sister poured water on him as neighbors gathered around. That night, Kamsi dreamed he was eating and drinking with his parents. They were happy. They warned him to choose his wife wisely, or his life would return to doom. At daybreak, Kamsi told his sister everything. She listened quietly and then said softly, "Brother, you are not cursed, you are chosen. That woman is not ordinary. She is a guardian sent by our parents and the ancestors. But her warning is serious. If you joke with love and choose wrongly, all this blessing can turn into sorrow." Kamsi swallowed hard. One night, the siblings decided to check the box Olaedo left behind. Behold, inside the box was stacks of dollars, cool money, money that did not make noise yet changed everything. It was enough money, clean money, money that carried no blood and no tears, money that smelled of God's blessing. Kamsi touched it carefully, as if it could vanish if handled wrongly. With that money, he carried his sister and left the old town behind. They entered Abuja, a city where roads stretch wide and dreams stretch wider. He opened a small machine parts shop filled with nuts, bolts, bike engines, and old iron, things that looked useless to some people, but spoke loudly to those who understood patience. The growth did not rush him. It came gradually. Customers came and then returned. Suppliers began to bow to him with much respect. His sister went to school. Years rolled by, and the boy who once slept hungry became the owner of a company named Kam Group of Companies, not just a shop, but a company. Engines were sold in wholesale. Machines were ordered new in bulk. The siblings were no longer managing life. They were living in luxury in their mansion with a giant tall gate. One faithful day in his shop, fate knocked again. It wore the face of Ejike. Ejike was once a bike rider from Kamsi's village. He was looking rough and hungry. When he called Kamsi's name, memories rushed in like floodwater. Out of kindness, the same kindness that once saved his own life, Kamsi opened his door for Ejike. He sheltered him like a sibling and gave him a job in his company. Ejike smiled, but envy always smiles before it bites. Slowly, his eyes began to count what was not his. Kamsi's sister warned him softly, "Brother, not everyone survives watching another person rise." Kamsi laughed and answered, "He is our blood. We wouldn't let him suffer and waste when God has given us the opportunity and resources to make him useful. But blood, when poisoned, can clot," said his sister. But Kamsi ignored his sister's advice. Then one afternoon, a beautiful goddess-like woman walked into the shop. She was tall, curvy, skin glowing like moonlight. Her hair flowed behind her like a river that carried secrets. She moved, and the room froze. When she spoke, her voice was calm. "I want to buy a machine." Kamsi stared. A woman like this, buying a bike engine. His mind questioned it, but his eyes betrayed him. He was no longer the poor boy. He was a grown man, a lonely man. They talked business. They both smiled at each other, and numbers were exchanged. As she walked away, Kamsi watched her quietly. And somewhere beyond human sight, something woke up. From strangers to lovers, they begin to call to check on each other. Business calls at first, then concern, then laughter, that stayed late into the night. She said her name was Nkiru. According to her, she deals in logistics. She dressed well, smelled expensive, laughed like someone who had never known hunger. Kamsi fell in love, not foolishly, but tiredly, the kind of fool where a man whispers that maybe life has finally remembered him. She came to the house, ate his food, smiled at his sister, yet each time she entered, the air tightened, sleep became thin, and peace slipped away. His sister felt it and warned him again. "Brother, I have this feeling that this woman is not clean, she has something to hide." Kamsi brushed it aside. Ejike laughed and said, "Let my brother enjoy life. After all, he is now a big boy with money." Kamsi listened to Ejike, ignoring his sister, forgetting that darkness rarely comes through strangers. It enters through the people you trust. Kamsi and Nkiru dated for a while, but strange things began to happen. Nkiru never stayed past midnight in Kamsi's house. When the clock approached 12, she stood suddenly and left. She never allowed Kamsi to follow her home, not once. Kamsi gave her access to his shop. She assists them to attend to customers. But whenever she entered the shop, Ejike pretends and disappears from the shop. Money started missing, small at first, then large. Machines were ordered but never arrived. Payments were made but left no trace. Ejike blamed suppliers. Suppliers blamed the shop. Nkiru said softly to Kamsi, "Relax, business has ups and downs," she said. "Let me help you invest elsewhere." Elsewhere? That word refused to leave Kamsi's spirit. His sister confronted him again. "Since this woman entered your life, peace has left," Kamsi snapped. "Allow me to enjoy love. I have suffered a lot." That night, his sister cried, and God listened. One evening, Kamsi decided to follow Nkiru, not because he doubted her, but because his spirit refused to rest. She walked past lights, past noise, into a part of their town where there are no voices and no people, an unfinished road beside a dry canal. She stopped, turned, and smiled. "Kamsi, why are you following me?" Behind her, the ground shifted like something breathing. Nkiru asked him, "Why did you follow me?" Before he could answer her, footsteps emerged. Ejike stepped out of the dark side of the road. It now dawned on Kamsi that they both played him. Ejike and Nkiru knew each other. They have been dating each other. Ejike planted Nkiru to extort money from Kamsi and also take ownership of his company. But what Ejike himself never knew was that Nkiru was not an ordinary human being. Ejike, seeing Nkiru display spirit-like character, scares him to his bone marrow. Nkiru laughed, not with joy, but with mockery. "So you finally see that I am not your like." The truth poured out, while fear swallowed Ejike's pride. Nkiru confessed how they watched Kamsi rise, how Kamsi fed her his fears, how she was sent to soften him, blind him, and prepare him to hand everything over to them. Ejike said poor boys doesn't deserve such wealth. Then the wind rose, not a breeze but a warning. Dust spiraled with birds screaming. Cold wrapped the night. A voice cut through the darkness, ancient and calm. "Kamsi, remember my warning. Indeed, you forgot my warning." The wind parted, and Olaedo appeared, no longer gentle. Her beauty was terrifying. The land trembled. Nkiru screamed as her true form surfaced. Her eyes were dark, her skin ripples with betrayal. Olaedo raised her hand. The wind lifted Nkiru and flung her into the canal and banished her. Ejike fell to the ground begging. Olaedo reminded him that he was given a second chance to build his life, and all he did was to use it to destroy another man. Then silence returned. Olaedo turned to Kamsi and said, "Kindness without wisdom invites wolves, but wisdom learned through pain stays forever." She vanished. Kamsi returned home broken, yet awake. He held his sister and cried, not from hunger, but from truth. Ejike was handed to the police. That same night, when silence had settled over the mansion and the city lights of Abuja flickered like distant memories, Olaedo appeared to the siblings for the final time. She did not come with wind or thunder. She came gently, like a whisper returning home. Her presence filled the room with a calm that felt older than pain. She looked at them with eyes full of love and said softly that she had come to say goodbye, but not the kind of goodbye that ends love. She assured them that she would always watch over them, even when they could no longer see her. Then she revealed the truth that had been hidden inside years of sorrow. She told them she was not a stranger, not a spirit sent from far away, not merely a guardian wandering between worlds. She was their elder sister, the one who passed away long before they were old enough to remember her face. After their parents gave birth to Olaedo, it took 18 long years before Kamsirio Chukwu was born, and later their younger sister followed. By the time the two younger children began to understand the world, the memory of their first daughter had already faded into silence. They grew up hearing her name only in broken stories, never knowing her face, never knowing her voice. Olaedo told them how she passed. She had been hawking on the roadside, trying to help the family survive, when a speeding car struck her. Her young life ended suddenly, and the shock of her kicking the bucket broke their parents' hearts. Grief swallowed them slowly until they too followed her into the silence beyond life. Since then, her spirit had wandered, watching, waiting, protecting the siblings she left behind. When the truth settled in the room, the siblings broke down in uncontrollable tears. They rushed toward her, trying to hold her, trying to feel the warmth of the sister they never truly had. They begged her to allow them embrace her just once, just for a moment, just to feel that she was real. But they could not touch her. They could see her clearly, hear her voice, feel her love surrounding them. Yet their hands passed through empty air. No warmth, no skin, no human embrace, only distance between worlds. They cried until their voices weakened. They cried until their hearts felt empty again. And slowly, with the same quiet gentleness she arrived with, Olaedo walked toward the gate. She did not look back in fear. She looked back in love. Then she stepped beyond the gate and disappeared into the thin night air. The mansion became cold. The silence returned, heavier than before. Though they had found the truth, their hearts still ached. They were terrified by what they had seen, yet comforted by what they now knew. That night, sleep finally carried them away. And in their dream, Olaedo came again, no longer distant, no longer untouchable. She held them, she hugged them, she wrapped them in the warmth they had begged for. But what they did not know was that it was not only a dream. In the quiet of the night, beyond the eyes of the living, Olaedo's spirit entered their room. She lay gently on the bed between Kamsi and his sister and held them close, the way an elder sister protects children from darkness. She stayed there, watching over them until the night grew old. By morning, Kamsi woke with a strange feeling in his chest, as if the dream had been real. He sensed a presence in the room, soft and loving, yet unseen. At that same moment, his sister woke too. Without speaking first, they looked at each other and realized they had seen the same dream. Fear touched them briefly, but peace quickly followed. They understood that love does not end with death. Presence does not depend on sight. Protection can come from worlds unseen. For the first time in their lives, they felt complete. From the dusty village roads where Kamsi rode his bike, through suffering, mystery, and destiny, to that quiet morning in Abuja, their sister had been with them all along. And though she had now returned fully to the place beyond the living, her love remained. The siblings were no longer empty, they were no longer alone, and for the rest of their lives, they carried a quiet happiness, born from one truth: they had finally met their sister.